Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a CEO and co founder, no other than Miss Stephanie Sylvestre.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome, Miss Stephanie on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
So I think you've covered it. It's Stephanie Sylvestre. I'm the co-founder of Avatar Buddy, and we're making AI work for the real world, ensuring that everybody has equal access to AI.
Equal access to AI, the new innovation of the 21st century. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Stephanie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And today let's talk about beyond software, considering AI social impact. So tell us, beyond job displacement, what are the more subtle ways AI could reshape our sense of purpose, identity, and value we place on human labor?
So so I believe that AI is going to help bring us closer together as human beings. And let me tell you why I say that. First, because we're going to be able to do our work in less time, we'll now have more time to spend with other people in our lives because we can practice conversations before with AI before we go and have it with real people means that we'll be able to navigate social situations more easily. And because of the rise of deep fake, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to meet the person uh, in person and get to know them one on one in order to make sure that what's being said about them is accurate. And you're only going to be able to do that by meeting people in small intimate groups. So I believe that AI is actually going to help us come closer together as humans.
Come closer for sure. So, what often hear about AI in terms of efficiency and optimization? How might this relentless pursuit of optimization conflict with the messy, unpredictable, and inherently human aspects of our lives?
Well, I don't believe that you need to optimize everything. So when we work with organizations, what we'll do is we'll say to the organization, let's talk about, look at your business process and let's talk about where your biggest pain point is. And then we address that pain point. And by addressing that pain point, the rest of the business processes um, continue to run in and flow more easily. So, and a very real life example is hiring. The top of the funnel is a mess. People are spawning you with bots. The qualified candidates can't get in. And so, what we did was we created a AI agent that sits on the top, filters through, because once you get qualified candidates, running them through your process works pretty flawlessly because your process is pretty solid once the candidates are in there. So that's an example of how we're optimizing one piece of the business process, leaving the rest as is, and having be able to get great results.
Great results indeed. And AI systems are trained in our data, our art, and our conversations. What are the long term cultural implications of feeding our collective human output into machines that will be then generate new content?
I I I I believe that the AI has the ability to have all cultures have the same accessibility. Right now, depending on which culture you're in or which culture you grew up in, you identify with will determine um, how much access the world have to it. But with AI, you can have access to any culture you want. Like an example is that we have a contract with the government of Belize where we've overlaid AI on their archive, and so now the teachers in Belize have access to Belizean history at their fingertips. The students have access to uh, um, Belizean history at their fingertips. It's a whole new conversation, way more robust than if you were just using Google to find out about Belizean history.
Indeed. And how is AI changing the very nature of trust? From deepfakes to algorithmic decisions, and what happens when we can no longer trust our eyes, ears, or the fairness of automated systems?
Um, I think that some of the arbitrary decisions that have been made by humans that marginalize each other will go down because the AI is making a decision. It's not, well, if you go to a checkpoint today, you're subjected to the whims of the human that's manning the checkpoint. But if the AI has given particular criteria and an ability to do discernment, then the AI will consistently implement the criteria, and by doing that, the AI is able to bring fairness. Additionally, like I just mentioned earlier, AI is going to force us to get to know each other on a more intimate level because we'll be at, that's the only way we'll be able to discern if what we're seeing on the screen is actually is actually real. That whole concept of seeing is believing will no longer be in play because you can be looking at a video and it's not a valid, accurate video.
Indeed, it's a fake, 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 something fake. So, Miss Stephanie, tell us the bias, equity, and power. The problem of bias in AIs is well documented, but beyond fixing biases data sets, what deeper structural or philosophical changes are needed to build truly equitable AI?
Well, so the AI is already built on what's on the internet, and we all know that what's on the internet is not the most accurate information that's available. And so what we have done is we have overlaid a small language model on the large language model and use the large language model's engine. So with the small language model as the data source for the AI, then you can control the bias, you can control the accuracy, and you can control what the AI is going to be using to produce content. And when we do that, we see that hallucination rates go down, accuracy of information goes up.
Indeed. And how could AI exacerbate global inequalities? Could we see a future where a few nations or corporations control superior AI, creating a new kind of geopolitical and economic divide?
So I would say that depending on how the marginalized countries, or I should say the low resource countries, engage AI will determine the future. So right now we're at a crossroads. Do we sit at the sidelines and see what happens, or do we jump in and make sure that we're part of the conversation and ensuring that AI is being developed the way we want it to be developed? And I believe that working to make sure that AI is developed the way we want it to be developed gives us greater control and is allows us to make sure that that we're that the inequalities go away. And I will say to you that AI needs 5 skills. And if you're from a low resource community, you by default being in that low resource community, whether or not you have your low resource yourself, um, puts you at an advantage. I was just in Belize and I was explaining to the high schoolers that are going to an exclusive high school in Belize that they're ahead of the game because they're in a low resource country, but they have access to resource. So they have the best of both worlds. I mean, and I said, when you go outside and you're driving on the streets, you're just because you come from a resource rich family doesn't mean that you don't have to drive over the potholes like everybody else. So it's just and by having to be creative and resourceful in navigating the potholes and all these things, what it does is it helps you be keep one step ahead of AI.
So, Miss Stephanie, in a world of personalized AI assistants and curated algorithmic feeds, what is the risk of losing a common reality or a sense of communal experience?
I'm still doubling down on the fact that AI will force us to come closer together as humans. And so, as the algorithms get more refined, as we get AIs that are more personalized, that help us get things done more quickly, I see a world where I now have time to fly to where you are and have the interview as opposed to having it online because I have the time and the flexibility in my schedule now. I also want to meet you in person because I want to be able to engage you in a way that says yes, human to human. So I think that the next new luxury item will be the ability to engage people human to human.
Hoping for that. Miss Stephanie, who should be at the table when the rules of impactful social AI are being written? Is it enough to have teach developer or tech developer and ethicists? Or do we need sociologists, artists, and community leaders too?
We need we need everybody at the table. We need the users, and we need a range of users. So like the way we build out our software is that we use work with high school students that receive free or reduced lunch because we know that those high school students have untapped potential. Having them have an input, one builds their self-esteem, gives them exposure to something they might not have access to, and then it gives us a point of view that we might not have access to. So when you're building out the software, you need obviously the regulators, you need the government officials, you need the enforcers, but you also need you need the end users, the community activists, and you need the people developing the software. All need to be at the table at the same time so that we can learn from each other.
Interesting, Miss Stephanie. Interesting. So, democracy, agency, and control. What are the most significant near term threats AI poses to democratic process beyond just misinformation campaigns?
Mm, the big issue is the rate and the rate and the reach and speed at which AI can disseminate information is something that I don't believe that we're fully equipped to address at this time, and so that can undermine a democratic process. Somebody can release a piece of information that's completely wrong with AI generated video that makes it look real, and then push it out in a way that by the time people realize what just happened, um, the damage already done. So
Mm.
they the vigilance in making sure that people have the accurate information, monitoring the various social media sites and the internet, especially maybe not the mainstream internet, to ensure that whatever is out there is correct and accurate. It requires rethinking how you do campaigning. It requires rethinking how you disseminate information.
As AI becomes more persuasive and personalized, how do we protect human autonomy and prevent a gradual, subtle manipulation for our choices and belief?
Well, we have been manipulating each other since the beginning of time, um, convincing people to buy things that they may or may not need, convincing them to look a certain way, act a certain way, speak a certain way. I don't see AI doing much of a difference. What I do see though is AI providing access to information so people can consciously make the decision to follow one influencer over another instead of blindly following people. You have greater reach and more ability to do research, to vet, make sure that things are as they say it should be.
Indeed. And tell us, Miss Stephanie, as a CEO and co founder, what are your short term and long term goals?
The short-term goal is to onboard more customers. We'd like to get to about double the number of customers right now. We have 40. We want to get to 80. And then long-term goal is to see how we can leverage AI to amplify and ensure that each individual can be the best version of themselves.
Good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I would say don't be like me, but work to be the best version of yourself, and self-love and self-grace is important in the process.
Self grace indeed. And thank you for that advice, Miss Stephanie. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced you, Johnny?
Okay, so I have two books that I would recommend that you read. Super Agency by Reid Huffman, and I'm reading Empire of AI by Lisa Howe. So both of those are really great books. It gives you good understanding of the AI space, and you realize it's not nearly as complicated as it seems.
Well, thank you for that recommended book, Miss Stephanie. So, what does a meaningful and informed public consent look like in an AI driven world? Can individuals truly consent to systems whose impact are so complex and far reaching?
Um, that's a very, very good question. I don't think that you can consent or not consent. Um, you know, if you if you want to fly somewhere, unless you have the money to fly in a private plane, you have to acquiesce to the airline's rules and conditions. If you want to have access to a piece of software, you have to acquiesce to their rules and conditions. We've always had to acquiesce to people. So this concept of being free is not nearly as free as as one would think. I mean, I remember first moving to the U.S. and all the rules and restrictions that were put in place, because I was under 21, that were not in place in Belize. But in a grand scheme of Tim's, they were trying to convince me that moving to the U.S., I was freer than living in Belize. And so I think that when you think about that, freedom is a state of mind, um, and so because of that, you're never going to be able to have full autonomy over your over how you navigate this world. You don't. Even if you walk out your door, you're walking down the street, and because you're in the public, somebody can take a picture of you, post it on the internet, and you don't really have much of a say in that. You can go and ask them to take it down, but the process for doing that is still arduous. So I don't think that we have autonomy over our ourselves, our data, as much as we would like, and and I think that's less about the tech companies and more about just a function of society. When you're a member of society, you have to give up some of your rights and some of your freedom in order to be a good citizen. Now, with that said, I don't um, I don't sign up for free software unless I intend to buy it, because the moment you start using free software, it means that you are now the product, not the software, because they have to make their money somewhere. So I would say, like, just to bring this whole thing back together, is no, we don't have full autonomy. We never did. So thinking that somehow AI caused us to lose autonomy is not the full story. We didn't have full autonomy back in the Renaissance time either.
Indeed. So, Miss Stephanie, looking decades ahead, what is the potential positive moonshot social outcome of AI that inspires you? Conversely, what is the negative outcome that keeps you up at night?
So what inspires me is that the young people coming up today, they really do have a good handle on how we could use AI for social good. Um, and and I'm very like encouraged when I sit and I talk to them and we talk about how different ways you can use AI. Um, but on the same vein, because they're young people, they might not always have be in positions of power. And the people that are in positions of power, I'm concerned that in the interest of doing right and being safe, they'll sit on the sidelines for too long, and bad actors will take over and take AI in a down a path that we will not be able to return from. So that's why it keeps me up at night. That AI is going to be we're at a crossroads right now, and AI is being taken down a path that will be really bad. Where we're back to the dark ages, where just a handful of people had all the wealth and everybody else was poor and at their mercy.
Interesting. Miss Stephanie, but before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract
Right.
poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101, and mental health 101, love letters in third season, and movie 101 review, music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Stephanie, tell us, if you could instill one core principle in every AI developer and policymaker today, what would it be to ensure this technology ultimately serves humanity and not for the other way around?
Um, ensure that you live in a state of humility. We found that when the people developing the AI live in a state of humility, they configure the AI in a way that makes sure that the AI is also coming from a position of humility, less likely to do harm.
Miss Stephanie Sylvestre, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Well, right now we're helping improve operational excellence by building function specific AI agents and digital twins for organization. So please feel free to reach out to me if you want to maximize your AI investment and you don't know where to start.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Stephanie Sylvester because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering AI advocacy to come. So, Miss Stephanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.
Thank you.